All right. I think we're now live on YouTube. Should we restart the session in that
We
case?
can quickly do a recap. Yeah, maybe we can just do a
All
quick
right.
recap for the guys on YouTube as well.
Guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think a recap would be the best.
All right. So, guys, sorry for the LinkedIn audience, but we were not live on YouTube for the last 6 minutes. There was some mishap, but now we're live. And, this is, again, we'll introduce this live stream. We are going to talk about the 3 months of PMS, right? So, it's a big deal for us. The PMS has passed a quarter. It's a big milestone. Things are looking very bright for the market as well as the PMS. We went over what's happening in the market, and we saw that in the recent times and across the whole year, right, week, month, quarter and year, small caps have been doing the best, right? This followed by if you look on the weekly performance, again small caps are winning, monthly levels small caps are winning, and it seems to be a very good time for small caps, right? Let's look at sectors. Again, we saw real estate doing extremely well. A lot of buying happening from the urban markets in the real estate sector. A lot of private homes are being bought, and with the festive season again, the demand has been very strong, and real estate is winning across the board. We've seen on a monthly level, IT also has recovered due to the US Fed rate cut expectations, and then you have on the factor side we have Alpha as well as Momentum who have done really well, right? So that was quickly what we covered, and we are talking about earnings now, right? In terms,
Yes.
Yes.
yes, and yeah, in terms of earnings, see the earnings have been good. I think they haven't been bad, but if you look at the Nifty 50 earning on this chart, you'll see that more companies have missed estimates compared to this last quarter, right? So there has been a little bit of a dip on that side, but the profit growth numbers have been extremely strong. Net profit margins have expanded, and the input costs have lowered across the board, which has been very positive. So fundamentally, in terms of earnings, I think we have done well, right? Let's talk about sectors, right? So, in terms of sectors, you would see that automobile, banking, and cement did extremely well in the last earning season. IT, chemical did not do that well, and FMCG and consumer durables also had a very strong quarter, right? I mean, they beat expectations, and the projections are looking good. People are expecting rural demand to pick up, and that is a positive. In terms of small and mid caps, you would see that small and mid caps had a higher profit growth compared to large caps, and they benefited from lower input prices, right? Let's
Sonam, I have a question out of
mhm,
curiosity, right?
right.
So in this slide, right, we are talking about the performance of various sectors, right? However, the markets are forward-looking and future-looking. So
Mm-hmm.
given the period that we are in, right, the festive season that we are in, what are the sectors that you think are going to, get better performance in terms of the top line and bottom line going forward, say in the
Yeah,
next upcoming quarter? Yeah.
definitely. So that's a very interesting question, Siddhart. And I think a lot will depend on how the different big events in the markets pan out, right? So if you look at if the rate cuts projections that are happening, they stand true, right? FOMC meeting is will be there next week. If that gives us a
Hmm.
direction of a rate cut, then you would see like sectors like IT, right, which has a global exposure, see a strong recovery. On the other hand, looking at domestic market, things are again very strong. So you would see the infrastructure, banking, and consumption themes continue to be strong, right? I think that's what our
Right.
expectation is. Elections will be a big event. We'll talk about it, and that might impact the small cap sector a little bit. But I think
Of
right
course.
now things seem to be positive. And people are expecting a pre-election rally right now, right?
Right. Right. Perfect.
Yeah, and I think let's quickly talk about the macro scene in terms of the rates, right? So, we have a chart here where for Europe, and people across Europe are expecting rate cuts to happen, uh, both in England and Europe, and same goes for the US as well, right? So I think people expect the rates to be cut as quicker as March and April of the next year, and obviously it's not a done deal. There are a lot of risk. Inflation could flare up, a recessionary environment might come up, like commodity prices, while they have softened right now, could flare up, and that could impact the market. But right now, I think the expectation from the US as well as the global market is for a rate cut to happen quicker. And I think that would be a big, I mean, that would be the biggest thing, right? I mean, everything aside, if a rate cut happens, that brings in liquidity into the market and that brings in liquidity to the Indian market, right? And that would be a big deal. And I think so that is something that people are sort of very positive about. That's why we are seeing a recovery in the US market, in the India market, etc. And that is one big thing to watch out for. So guys, do you think that we would see a rate cut sooner, or what's your opinion there?
So I hope we don't see a rate cut, right? That is the hope that we have, right? And I hope everything is, stabilized. But however, given my understanding, there might be some rate cuts, but
Mhm.
not something which will be very, very hawkish as well, right?
Right. No, I mean, I would want a rate cut, right? Because that sort of brings in liquidity to the equity markets, right? That's a big event for the equity market.
Hmm.
Correct, correct. I think it's. I think you meant rate hike, Siddharth, probably, because that's what the Fed was doing, right?
Correct.
A rate cut in this scenario would be favorable, and the sooner it happens, obviously, the better for all of us.
Fair
Right,
point.
right.
And if it
That,
merges with the elections, then all the well for it.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, I
yes,
think if there are rate cuts, as Sonam was saying, that there'll be more liquidity, right? And that
yeah,
becomes very crucial.
yeah,
right,
absolutely.
right. And it would have different impact on different markets, obviously. But equity markets on a whole will see a big boost coming through that. Let's quickly talk about the election season, right? So we've covered it in one of our blogs, and you guys, a lot of research, Siddharth, Vaisora has done on that side. So please go ahead and read through that. What's very interesting is the chart that we have put here. That if you look at whatever the the government, however it has changed, if there's a regime change or not, if the government continues or not, right? You would see that the India market tends to do better than the world market during election season. So India continues to stay very robust, irrespective of any government change, and that has been the trend historically, right? Obviously, people are expecting some short-term volatility to happen because if a regime shift happens, or if let's say uh, there is not enough majority in the government, then certain projects that are being run might get stalled, or the focus might change, and that is what might cause some short-term volatility. But what we've seen is that in the long term, the despite all fluctuations, the market continues to be very stable, right? And I think in terms of sectors, I would say that different sectors would react differently. I mean, you could you like we've done a study of historical data, but it's still very very it's not extremely predictive in that sense, right? You different historical elections have had different scenarios, right? But what we would expect is that small caps, could have a lot of volatility before the elections, and we have to, diversify across small, mid, and large caps to create a much more balanced exposure. Um, let's talk about Cricket World Cup. So, guys, you guys are experts here. What do you think is going to happen today?
Well, I think we are all hoping for India to win. It'll be interesting if it's a close match because that'll make it more interesting. I think naturally, and as
Right.
a sports enthusiast and anyone that loves the sport, I think you would want a good fight being put up by Australia. But obviously, naturally, you'd want India to sort of take away the
Absolutely.
World Cup today.
Yes,
Right.
I think India has been very good in performance, right? Um, however, Australia is also a very, very good team, right? And as Siddharth is saying that if the match is intense, it'll be definitely interesting to watch. But all our hearts are towards India, right? So we just want India to win.
Yeah,
So,
I think
when does the match start today?
it starts around 2. I think, if I'm not
Two.
wrong.
Around
Okay.
2
So
p.m.
everybody must be, getting ready. I'm sure people might be organizing meetups and match watching parties, etc. Right?
Yes. In fact, it's a big
Absolutely.
event in Ahmedabad, right? So there's a lot happening there with
Yeah, yeah.
fireworks and everything else as well. So it's a very big event and it'll be eventful to watch it on television as well.
Okay. Yeah, and it's a big event for the Indian economy as well, right? I think
Absolutely.
yes. So I mean,
I
there's
think
been
the
a big
hospitality sector will benefit a lot, right?
definitely,
I've heard of hotel prices, rising up, right? So the hospitality sector on a whole level would definitely benefit from this.
definitely. So today, I'm sure Ahmedabad ka GDP is booming, right? Because everybody is sort of traveling there, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
And
absolutely.
yeah, I think definitely tourism will increase. And I think, see, a lot of, like we've posted here that, you're going to see food delivery, Zomato is going to see a lot of boost, right? And ticket
Mhm.
sales, event management, etc. But I think the sentiment, right? If India wins, that becomes like a big sentiment win for India, right? And we would see a lot of
Right.
cheer happening because of that, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. I think again, all of this is also happening in the backdrop of the elections, right? So
Mm.
there could be some sort of nuances to that conversation as well.
Wow.
If India wins, I think.
Right,
But
right.
but the bottom line is if India wins today, right, the sentiment is going to be positive and good, right? And that definitely, sort of affects the market also, right? Once the market opens tomorrow.
Right, and but yeah, like we'll have to watch the match to see who wins, right? But we definitely
Yes,
do hope that India wins, and we get that big sentiment boost. But yes,
absolutely.
I think it's been a very big event that is added to the India GDP, right?
Yeah.
I saw David Beckham came to watch a match, and today, so I don't know who else is coming, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes,
and there's been job creation, there's been infrastructure development, and a lot of global exposure, right? We see, so it's
yes,
been a good event, and I hope it ends with a very very positive sentiment.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Let's see. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, see, after cricket, let's go to the main event of this session, which is talking about 3 months of the Right PMS, right? So we started our PMS 3 months ago. We went live. We sort of launched it somewhere in June or July, if I'm not wrong. And we've seen very good interest. A lot of our trusting investors, right, who've been with us for the last 4 odd years, have come on to the PMS, and we're seeing a lot of interest coming across the board. To give you some key highlights here, we in 3 months we've crossed 40 crores in assets that we manage. Our performance has been stand out, right? I think that's been a big sentiment boost for us as well, right? So right factor fund, the first PMS that we launched, has done 18% odd in 3 months. Right alpha fund has done 25% in 3 months, and there's been a big outperformance over the benchmark. So right factor fund had outperformed the market with 13%, and right alpha fund has outperformed by more than 20% in these 3 months, right? So it's been a very interesting time. I think timing for launching a product is very critical, right? uh, if you
yes.
launch it at the right time, then you are able to build that initial outperformance. And then I think that's what has happened with our alpha prime small case also, right? And the same goes, I think same, we launched PMS around a similar sort of a time. So it's been an interesting time to be in the market. And with the rate cut expectations, positive sentiment, and good growth numbers coming out from the economy, we expect the sentiment, pre-market rally, etc., to continue. But definitely, if there is a risk, then the PMS that we've talked again and again has a very strong risk management to counter any sort of risk that happens, right? And obviously, ups and downs will be part of the market, and a PMS is a long-term plan, right? So, guys, I quickly added a slide on, why we are very bullish about the PMS segment, right? So, we've seen that the affluent segment, right? So, a lot of our investors, who started small with us, right, 4 years ago, are now doing PMS, which is 50 lakh plus investment, right? And that is because the wealth in India is growing. And we saw a very interesting report that we read recently, and we see that, the affluent segment across India, people who have been working for some time are entering into that territory where they become HNIs and they can invest into PMSs. and that growth is happening at accelerated pace right now, and it will continue to happen in the next few years also. So I think I see a lot of our loyal customers now turning into PMSs as it goes, and there's a disproportionate amount of wealth that is there among the wealthy, and that's why it is organic for us to sort of go and target that segment, right?
Right. Also, one more trend on the PMS side that I would like to highlight, Sonam, over here is that the investors who started investing in the PMS with us, right, during the early stages, have doubled down on their investments, right. So they are
Yes,
infusing more capital, and that shows the confidence, right, among the
right,
equity markets and the investors and the strategy that we have. So that's
right.
another trend we are seeing. Yes.
Yes, I think that has been happening a lot, and that is one of the biggest positive sentiments for us, right? That when
Yes.
somebody who has already invested a large amount and then they start channeling their SIPs or their other investments into the PMS, that's a big, big
Right.
positive for us.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we guys, we have three types of. I mean, we have three schemes here in the equity side. One is the right factor fund, which is a multi-factor PMS, where we invest into different factors based on the market scenario. It tends to have a momentum exposure majorly during most markets, but during riskier times it goes to value, sometimes gold, bond, etc. So it has asset allocation component also. In terms of the second PMS, it's called right factor fund hedged, but it has more exposure to the momentum factor, different types of momentum factors, and along with different momentum exposure, it is also hedged, right? So if there is a lot of risk, then we'll buy put options to hedge the strategy. The third fund that we have is the Right Alpha Fund, which is a 10 stock high momentum strategy, and this will is a concentrated momentum. When you see a lot of risk, I mean, it is a high risk, high return strategy, and right now, when the market is doing well, you can see that this one has done 22% plus outperformance over the market, right? So another interesting fund for you guys. I'll quickly talk over the performance. I think that's been very exciting. So that's why for us, for asset managers, right? People look at you in terms of performance, right? Until now, we didn't even have a quarter worth of performance. So for the first time, we have a quarter of performance to show you guys. The Right Factor Fund started on 18th of August. It went live on 18th of August. Today, 17th, 19th of November. So we crossed 3 months. In these 3 months, obviously, you can see for all of the different months that have crossed, the fund has outperformed the market, and during those 3 exact months, it has delivered a 13% plus return over the index. And it's across the board, it's not just for one person, but this is the holistic return of the overall funds being managed by the PMS, right? And I think it speaks a little bit about the robustness of our strategy. And 3 months is still a short span of time. Obviously, you guys should judge us on our small case performance as well. But on the PMS, it's been 3 months, it's been doing well, and I think a lot more to come, right? Let's quickly look at the right factor fund hedge performance. This one again has outperformed the market in all of the different months. This started later, so it didn't start exactly 3 months ago. It started a little bit later. The performance has been a little lower compared to the right factor fund, but still has been quite robust, and it has outperformed the market by 12-13% again, right? Um, and let's look at the best performer of this month, right? So let's look at the Right Alpha Fund, and you can see that the Right Alpha Fund has sort of taken off in this month, right, in the month of November. And what's very interesting about the Right Alpha Fund is that it has been positive across the board, right? So August, September, October, November, all of these months it has been positive. Whereas if you look at the other funds and the market, it has been negative during the October month, right? So while the other funds have done better than the market, but this one has in fact ended up positive during the October month. And recently, Siddhart, we've been seeing a lot of people show interest in the alpha strategy. So they are sort of channeling some part of their investment into alpha and opting more and more for this strategy, right? That's what the trend that we've seen.
Yes, we've seen a lot of people, or rather, a lot of investors of ours, showing interest towards allocation in alpha, and that
Mm-hmm.
again says that, right, they don't want to miss out on the rally that's happening in the market, right? And
Right.
I believe the market is more sentiment in nature than anything else, right? So this also adds to the positive sentiment
Right. Yeah.
that people are actually looking at small cap, mid cap, and they want that alpha out of that.
Definitely. So, guys, so this is a brief snapshot of our 3 month performance. And anybody who's interested, please go over to our website, rightresearch.in. You'll find the portfolio management service section there, and you can, register your interest by clicking on, let's get started. We'll get your contact details. You'll be able to set up a call with our sales team, and we can talk you through the strategy and explain how the process works. It's very easy right now, at least for Indian investors. It is a digital process now, right? So that, so
Yes, we've made it absolutely digital, and it just takes few minutes to fill your forms and get you onboarded.
right,
Um, so there's no
right.
paperwork involved, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, the onboarding is digital. It takes like, hardly 15 to 30 minutes to onboard a client. And then,
Yes,
then after you invested, you get a full snapshot of, your portfolio, a very detailed snapshot. It's a digital, again, online portal where you can watch all your portfolio, what's the trades happening. It's a real time thing. You get all the updates at the end of the day, and you can watch the performance and reach out to us for any queries, right? So we're very excited about this product. And folks who are, I think, a big question that we get here is that, why should I do PMS instead of following along on a small case and all, right? That's an interesting question. I think that Smallcase is an excellent product, and if you enjoy doing that, you should definitely do that. But for certain type of customers, right, who don't want to rebalance, or who want somebody else to holistically manage their money, I think this is an excellent product. And if you fall in that category, then please do reach out to us, and we're very happy to work with you with this, right? Especially for larger clients, right? I think for the larger clients, going with a specialized PMS makes sense, right? If you have crossed a threshold of 40 50 lakh that you're investing into the equity market, then I think PMS sort of definitely makes sense for you. So
absolutely.
having talked about that, let's quickly go over to our performance overview of the small case as well, right?
So, now one more thing I would like to mention on the PMS part, right, which is very interesting for investors, is that when they invest 50 lakhs, they don't need to necessarily put it just in one scheme, right? And they
Mhm.
can take advantage of all the schemes, right? So they can allocate some to alpha, some to factor or hedged as per their preference. So that's also an interesting approach that we have.
So definitely, I think that's a good point, right? And let's quickly go over to our small cases, right? So in terms of small cases, which one do you think have done the best, right?
Can I take a guess?
Yes.
Is it New India Manufacturing?
No, not really. It is
Okay.
again
Alpha.
alpha strategy, right?
Wow.
So you look
Wow.
at this one, like you see that in the last 5 months, this one has given a 56% returns on small case, right? And that is big, right? And obviously it's a function of the bull market, right? It's because the market has been favorable. But you can see that small cap index itself has given a 30% return, right, during that time.
Correct.
But this strategy has given a 26% outperformance over small cap in this market, which I think is an achievement, right? It's not a bad thing. And yeah, I think this
It's
was
also
a
seen like even in the poorer months, it's also done decently well,
yeah,
right? I think even in October
definitely.
when there was a little bit of a drip.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think October it ended up positive, right,
Yeah,
compared
yeah,
to the other strategies, and November again it has sort of taken off, right? So I think
yeah,
yesterday or Friday it had a 3.5% sort of a day, and
yeah.
so that I think on the Diwali sale, right, which we organized, I think most of our subscribers have come to Alpha, right? If I'm not wrong,
Yeah,
Alpha and
absolutely, absolutely. I think on small case right now we can see it to be the most invested
right.
small
Yeah,
case
so I
segments.
think this is one of the those strategies. Let's also talk about our momentum strategy, which is again our investor favorite, right? And guys, we are about to about to reach the 4 year mark on momentum. Are you guys aware of that? So if you look at the momentum chart, you see that this guy started somewhere, oh my god, on November 25, right? So
Yeah,
so
we're
it's a
just
very
about 6 days, 6 days away.
6 days away from 4 years of momentum. I was thinking was in December. Maybe we launched it or on a private mode on November, and then we went live somewhere in December. But yeah, I think momentum is about to cross 4 years, right? And it's had quite a good journey during those 4 years. I think it is one of our investor favorite, and this is, while alpha is an excellent strategy for a high risk investor, this is a little bit more balanced in that sense, right? It's much more diversified and an excellent strategy for people looking at it. Let's also
Absolutely,
talk.
and I think just to sort of compare alpha and momentum, Sonam, the number that you showed on for alpha prime, that was a 5 month number, right? It's an
Yes,
absolute return. It's not a CAGR number, so the CAGR would
right.
be considerably higher. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's you can't expand you can project it out, but
Yeah,
definitely I think, see, this is again 4 years and 47% plus
yeah,
returns.
yeah.
Again, this is a big deal, right? It's not a small deal. Let's talk about new India, right? Again, this has completed a year, and this is our one of the best performing strategies for a year, right? So you look at 1 year where this guy has given a 67% return, right? And this doesn't even have a lot of small caps. It has a mix of small, middle, large caps, right? And even in the recent months, it has picked up a very strong pace, right? After the recovery, after the rally has started happening, after the Fed rate announcement. And we are very positive about this strategy because it goes and it bets on the new India theme, which might rally if the pre-election rally sort of happens, right? And if the current government sort of continues, I think this would be a big sort of good investment to have. So I think this is another excellent one. Let's also quickly go over our balanced portfolio, right? Balanced again 4 years. It has been 4.5 years, to be honest, right? It went through the COVID crisis also, right? And again, has given very stellar returns. Recently we've added, in the balanced one, you would see, if you've invested, that you have gold and bond allocations here, right? And so this has gone a little bit into the moderate category, but again, you can see the performance sort of speaks for itself. And I think 4.5 years, and including the COVID crisis, right, where everything crashed 30-40%. I mean, this is an excellent sort of a return, right? And yeah, I think that is a quick update on our small cases. Let's talk about the featured portfolio of the week before we go into the audience Q&A. So, featured portfolio of the week, this is a PMS update. So, definitely it is the Right Alpha Fund. And people who can't invest into the PMS and who want to go with a small case version of it, then go with the Alpha small case that's out there, right? Let's look at the long-term performance. See, this is again, these numbers are a little bit insane, right? You shouldn't be talking about these numbers because this is a back-tested performance of the alpha strategy, and talking about these insane numbers. Like if somebody came and told me that I have a strategy that's giving me 54% CAGR on a back test, then I would not take them seriously, and that's what I always say. But yes, I think we're looking at the live performance. 5 months on small case, 3 months on the PMS. Alpha tends is sort of delivering on the promise of this back test, and yeah, I think we are very very positive about this particular strategy. It is a great way for you to add a flavor of high risk, high return strategies to your portfolio. So we will not recommend anybody to sort of put 100% of their capital into this, and because it's a high risk strategy, right? But definitely include it as a 10-20% mix into your equity allocation, and you could get the flavor of the high return that the strategy promises. But with high return also come high risk, right? So if there is a heightened risk, then you would also see that, right? Yeah, I think, guys, that's pretty much it on the presentation side. Let's now go to the Q&A.
Sure.
Yeah, Siddharth, why you'll just sort of look at the question.
Mhm.
So no, maybe
Okay.
just have a look at LinkedIn, and also I think your
Yes.
camera is off. That's what I can
Ah,
see on my screen right now.
okay. I'll just check
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I think
So
what we can do is we can first look at the questions that were put on the Google form, right? Uh,
Mhm.
and then probably switch between YouTube questions and LinkedIn questions. Would that be the
Yes,
right
guys,
approach?
on LinkedIn, I think this is our first LinkedIn live. So please do put down your questions on the chat if you're watching. Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
Perfect. So I'm just going through the questions on the form. Uh, let's see what we've got. Okay, we've got quite some questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have a question from Surya. He's
Right.
asking, my question is, as compared to quant funds, some say
Mm-hmm.
that index might perform in long run and in short period as well. Which one would be better as per market data? If which one will actually perform better than the quant or the index?
See, that's again a very involved question, I think, right? Index is an excellent strategy for you to get a diversified exposure in a passive way, right? It contains all the large, stocks ranked by their market caps, right? So all the stocks that have gained market cap tend to become part of your portfolio. But I'll very emphatically say that with Right Research, we believe that active investing, like looking at different factors and identifying stocks like, let's say, in the high momentum category, in the high value category, we started this company because we thought that those factors can do better than the market, and that's what we've seen in the last 4 years, right? So we definitely believe that by active investing, by looking at these differentiated factors, doing tactical allocation, right, allocating to the right factor at the right time, active strategies definitely can deliver high rate return, and that's what the bet is right here.
Perfect.
You
We
guys
have a
agree there,
question.
or anybody
Yes,
does?
I sort of do agree. What about you, Siddharth?
no, no, I think it's a very good way of sort of summarizing the overall point.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
All right.
Sure. So moving on, we have a question from Goti, who's from Bhagalpur. He's asking, is it advisable to allocate my entire 10 lakh investment fund to Alpha Prime, or should I consider spreading it across a range of smaller investments given my high risk appetite? So 10
Right.
lakhs high risk appetite, should he all put it in Alpha or stagger it to different small cases is what he wants to know.
Right. So I would say that alpha definitely, if you had invested into that strategy 5 months ago with a 10 lakh allocation, right, it could have become 15 lakh. But no, I would say that you take a full bet on alpha, right? I would say that you create a mix of strategies. So like we said, momentum is a much more balanced approach. So you can create a mix of balanced and alpha, right?
Mhm.
And because see, I think I see some people who are very emphatically come and say, I want full allocation to alpha, right, in the PMS, let's say, and we say, okay, you go ahead because you might have invested in other places also. Or some people take that full bet because they've seen three market cycles in all their lives, right? If you've seen three market cycles and you've seen 2008 crash, you've seen 2020 crash, and you are comfortable with any corrections like that could happen, and still you want to allocate to alpha, then I would say that please go ahead. But if you haven't seen any market cycle and you think that I can take high risk and high return, but you haven't seen any such risk, and if let's say you see a 10% sharp correction and you would get worried, then I don't think that's the best way, right? So if you have seen
Yes.
you've experienced high risk and still you want to take that risk, then please go ahead. But if you haven't seen that risk, and I would say better idea is for you to diversify it with a slightly lower risk strategy, let's say a momentum or a balanced, right? Would you agree, guys? Siddharth Vaisura, what do you think?
No, no, I agree. I think it really depends on your risk tolerance, and if you haven't seen some of these investing cycles
Hmm.
that Sonam was sort of mentioned, where that the market has hit rock bottom and kept crashing the next day or the following day, and if you're not comfortable in those type of scenarios, then you need to sort of understand what is a better portfolio for you to sort of go for, right? And
Definitely.
if you're not comfortable with that, then Alpha Prime may not be the right place to put all of your capital. Definitely.
Right.
Perfect. So the next question is from Prem, right? So
Mhm.
he has quite a few questions. We'll try to address most of them though, right? He's asking, is there any plan to introduce a hedged version for the Alpha Prime PMS portfolio? If so, could you provide some insights into the rationale behind considering a hedged version and how it would align with the fund's overall strategy?
Right. So see, I think Siddharth, we are the plan is to hedge alpha fund, right? The plan is
Mm-hmm.
definitely that even in the existing alpha fund that we have, we will be hedging it when there is high risk. But again, the numbers that I showed you for the backtest of alpha, the 54% return, etc., they will become again crazy if we show you those hedged numbers, right? So we don't do that. And definitely we are planning to hedge the alpha strategy. We would definitely check with users, right? If certain people don't want hedging, because when you hedge anything, you get a derivative exposure, and the derivative exposure, it tends to get you a slightly higher tax, and all that gets complicated. The taxation at least gets complicated for people. So some people don't want that, but we will definitely, we're planning to hedge the alpha strategy as it is, and we'll check with people as and when it's needed, right? Like if they agree that we should be hedging their component or not, right?
Right. Right. Perfect. He has another very interesting question. He's asking, when it comes to diversifying an individual investors portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
do you suggest spreading investment among different fund managers or strategies, or is it advisable to consolidate all the investments with a single fund manager? What's your take on this?
I mean, I think it's a interesting question, right? I won't say that you need different faces to manage your money. Like with Right Research, right? It's not one fund manager who's taking decision. It is an algo. It's a system, right? That's what we offer, right? And if I were to diversify my investment, I would look at maybe different themes, right? I mean, see, the diversification only comes when you are betting on uncorrelated themes, right? So let's say I am betting on momentum, but I see another guy who's doing very good on the value investing side. It might make sense to diversify with them, but adding multiple, let's say, momentum products, right? I don't think that's needed, right? And if you trust one particular company who's doing well for you, then you should consolidate, because you add five momentum products, you end up with 100 stocks, and your diversification has gone out. You're very very over diversified, and your overall portfolio return. So maybe one guy you will see, okay, this guy is doing better than the other guy, that you will be able to see, but overall portfolio might not see give you that good return. So I would say in one theme, go with one sort of a person, right?
I think that is pretty fair, right? And that then it
Mhm.
also becomes very niche driven as well, right? So a
Right.
particular fund manager might be good at say one type or strategy of investing. So why not
Mhm.
make the most of that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great. So our next question is from Aishwarya Gupta. She's saying that she's exploring investing through PMS, and till now she's only invested through mutual funds, but she's
Mhm.
taking to take the risk for the performance, right?
Right.
So what are the deciding factors to choose PMS versus mutual funds? Also, how reliable are backtested return numbers?
Right. See, I think realistically, a mutual fund investment or a PMS investment are very similar for a user, right? Like they have invested, and then that investment goes on, right? They don't have to come and touch it or rebalance it or do anything. With PMS, what will happen is you will get a closer connect with the fund manager, right? Or people who are running your or managing your capital. You will be in better touch with them. With PMS, again, the returns could be better, right? Because we don't have any constraints that mutual funds have in terms of the market caps, the allocation to different sectors, etc. Right. So that part goes away with PMS, and that is why because we can take exposure to small caps, sometimes we can take exposure to different sectors. That's why a PMS gives a better return. Her second question
Right.
is about the
So
back
she's
test, right?
basically
Again, I would
correct.
say that don't go with back test, right? So see, we are very honest. We are saying that we have done only 3 months with PMS, but we've done 4 years on small case, right? Same sort of systems. In fact, have done amazingly well for 4 years on small case. So it's not just backtest. We've done very good on the live market as well, and same sort of strategy flows into the PMS, to be honest. And it's a holistic sort of approach, and so see, at the end of the day, my job or a job of any quant analyst is to make sure that my live performance and my back tests, they don't vary, right? So we spend all our time making sure that our back tests are accurate, right? They don't deviate from live returns. But again, back test is back test, right? Even though it is perfect, it is not live. And for our live performance, you can check some of our small case products and how they've done, and even the PMS how we've done in the last 3 months, right?
Right. No, I think this is very interesting, right?
Hmm.
Because we have shown the results, in the small case strategies. Those are definitely more reliable, right?
Right.
Makes sense. So one of our existing PMS investors, Mr. Ravi Kumaran, he has a question that after, say, I've put 50 lakhs, right, in the PMS, can I add more 5 or 10 lakhs, or do I have to put another 50 as a minimum amount?
So why don't you answer that, Siddharth?
Absolutely. So, Mr. Ravi, you can top up your PMS account with 5, 10, 1, 2, whatever you would prefer, right? So, once you hit the 50L threshold, then you can top it up as per your preference. So, that shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Great. Let me just pull out some other questions as well. So, Pankaj is asking that we were talking about hedging with derivatives. Is it
Mhm.
applicable to alpha prime small case too? And would
No.
you advise investors to sit on cash during a bear run?
See, on the small case side, hedging is something that we can't do, right? Derivatives is not there on small case, right? And plus, doing derivatives on advisory basis, it becomes complicated, right? So we don't do it there. And see, you don't need to sit on the cash anytime. What we will be doing is that, let's say the market goes through a bear run, right? Then even in the alpha strategy, we would be deallocating, moving to safer stocks, sometime moving to cash, right? If needed, we'll go to cash, right? So you don't specifically need to do that, right? So we don't advise our clients to go and time the market, right? The deallocation policy is built into the strategy, and it will take care of any risk management as it is needed, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Um, so another question, right? Again on the Alpha Prime small case. As of now, we have just about 10 stocks in it. But Mr. Deepak is asking that would you consider adding more stocks to the Alpha Prime strategy, or it would always just remain 10 and very concentrated?
Right. Siddharth Bhaisura, do you want to answer that?
Sure, yeah. I think it is meant to be a high risk, high reward strategy, which means you ideally want to have a concentration benefit, right? As opposed to going for diversification, where you could tend to maybe lose out on some of the benefits or some of the higher return that you're looking for here. Having said that, naturally, if there are like right now, I think we have got more of an allocation towards small caps in the alpha prime strategy, and that could vary depending on how the sectors may change and the market caps are changing. But I think we would still want it to be a concentrated portfolio so that people that want to take that aggressive bet in the market have a way to do that, essentially, right?
Right.
Perfect. Perfect. Um, So, Sonam, there are a lot of questions on the comparison between still the PMS schemes and say these small cases that we have, right? So, in fact,
Hmm.
one of our existing PMS investors, Mr. Mehul, is asking that if he were to invest say 50 lakhs, right, um,
Hmm.
in alpha PMS or small case, which would be more efficient? So, if you could just throw some more light on the difference between both these structures and which would be more efficient, it'll be awesome.
Definitely. See, I mean, I think both of these structures are excellent structures, right? Small cases, they've added, they're loved by so many people, and they've given a flavor of, customized strategies, but at a
Hmm.
low cost, at a lower capital, right? And The difference between small case and PMS is that on PMS, the execution, the whole end-to-end fund management is managed by us, right? So that and because with small case, what happens is that the rebalances go out to customers, right? To thousands of customers, and they go on a specific date. Whereas on PMS, that is not the case. So we get a PMS gets a slight execution preference in that sense that any execution that
Right.
has to be done could preferably be done on a PMS. It has to be efficient. It will be efficiently managed by us, right? So we don't. It's not on the customer, but it is on us, and our fees and our performance is all net of expenses. So we make sure that any trading that is happening that minimizes the cost plus it minimizes the impact in the market. So we end up getting the best prices in the market. I think that's the differentiation. Plus, I think see it's also a lot of it's not about investor preference, right? So I know certain investors who don't want to do actively checking the rebalances, etc., right? So for those type of guys, I think PMS is a better product. And I think like we said, it gets a little bit of execution preference. It gets efficient execution in that sense. And for larger capital, I think it's a good idea, right? So let's say you're investing
Got it.
50 lakh with a small case, you might end up getting a bad price from the market, right? If you send out
Yeah.
this large order through market. But with PMS, we sort of manage that efficiently, and that adds to the advantage, right?
Got it. So this
Yeah.
is on the structure side, the differentiation that you have shared, right? But on
Mhm.
the strategy side, how different
Mhm.
is the small case alpha prime that we have versus the PMS alpha that we
Right.
have?
So I think if you look at both of these strategies, you would see that they definitely have different stocks. Right. It's not like the exactly same strategy, right? And see the what's going on behind the scenes is similar for both of these models, but they are different models that are running. And you know because of much more active investment that's available for the PMS, there is a difference that happens. And but yeah, the underlying theme is similar, right? So I won't say that the underlying theme is very very different, but due to the execution preference and due to the faster sort of allocation here, there will be a difference.
Right. Mr. Uday is asking how many investors have subscribed to our small cases. If we could just throw a number there.
So we have, I think, close to 13,000 or just on the small case platform. We also offer these portfolios on our website and our app, and we have a bunch of people there as well. So I think we have a very decent number of people who sort of invest with us, right?
Right. Perfect. Um, Awesome. So, Sonam, would you like to share an update on onboarding with Zerodha for the PMS? A lot of people are asking about that. Or how does the
Uh,
broking part of the PMS work?
Right. See, on the broking side right now, we are sort of working with a low-cost broker for PMS, and we are exploring others also. See, we have it's a lot of paperwork, right? I think that's the whole thing. That whenever we are trying to set up something as a company, they do your full KYC, they do all of this documentation that takes time. We've cleared all of that. Now, just on the setup side, I think between our custodian and a broker, there's a setup that is required, which those guys are working on, and I hope they get done soon. We've been waiting for it for a few weeks, and I hope that setup is done soon. We are trying to escalate it more and more, and but we hope that it gets done before the end of November, right?
Yes,
And Siddhart, I think, is also exploring other brokers who might be lower cost and might be giving us good
absolutely.
service. Right?
So we've always been in the search for better brokers who can provide us the best brokerage because that improves the net returns for our investors. Um, so we are definitely focused on that part as well, and eventually you guys will see that we have one of few of the top brokers with the best brokerages that one could get, right. Um,
Right.
Perfect. We see a lot of questions coming in from investors about, exposure to US markets, whether it is through our
Mhm.
small cases, through our PMS offerings. So if you could just throw some light on that, if we would take any exposure, if we have any exposure, and if so, how? Yes.
Right. So I think on the small case platform, right, the ETFs that follow the US market, they are sort of disallowed, right? So you can't allocate to, let's say, a Nasdaq 100, etc. Right. So you won't see them coming into our small case products. On the PMS side, we're creating customized sort of baskets for different people, right? So certain folks who come to us, who might be needing retirement, or who might be needing a customized solution for themselves, right? So we give them a mix of strategies. So the mix of strategy includes our factor fund, our hedge fund alpha, debt fund, right? We have a debt PMS also. We have, and then we give you exposure to gold and liquid if you want. We can give you exposure to US markets through a number of index funds as well as ETFs that are available for the India in the Indian mutual fund industry, and create a diversified mix for you as needed. So we can have that discussion if somebody is looking at that on the PMS side.
Right.
But on the advisory side, I think on the small case side, the Nasdaq 100 etc. ETFs are not allowed now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So Mr. Ronak has a question. Can we take the process online for NRIs when it comes to PMS because he doesn't like the offline process? Can I take that question up?
Yes, yes, please do that.
Perfect. So, Mr. Ronak, unfortunately, right now it is not online, right? However, probably in the future we will try to work out a structure where we can make it online. But as of now, it is not online for NRIs, so we will have to go through the offline process. But we are trying to streamline the process, right? So going forward, things would be much quicker, and our investors would have a smooth journey while the onboarding process itself. But for domestic clients, it's 100% digital, given that you guys are KRA compliant, right? We can do digital onboarding for our domestic clients. Yes.
Right.
Um, Perfect. Another interesting question, Sonam, we have from Mr. Venkata is that he's asking, what is the difference between subscribing through to any of our small cases through our website or through the small case website, right?
Yes, I think, see, there's no difference, and we sort of prefer that people subscribe through our website, right? Because I mean, see, there's a difference in how much revenue we share with small case, right? So because the user acquisition, if you come to through our website, is via us. So we don't share any revenue which goes, let's say for user acquisition with small case. But if you come through the small case platform or small case app, then we are sharing that revenue with small case. So we end up gaining a little bit if you come through our website. That's the thing. But you should be using the platform that works the best for you, right? At the end of the user experience is most important, and we are also trying to make sure that our website and app have the user experience up to the mark that you love to invest through us instead of going to any other platform. But definitely choose the platform that works best for you, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I think one more last question, then we'll be done with the questions from YouTube and the forms that we've got, and we can address any LinkedIn questions if we have, right. So this question is from Mr. Prem again. It's a very interesting question. He's asking, how can individual investors effectively manage the FOMO, which is the fear of missing out, during bull markets to avoid potential market bubbles?
Yeah, see, I think, this FOMO has been, FOMO and the fear both have been there for a long time in the market, right? So I think me and Siddharth, we've been talking to investors for the last 4 or 5 months, right? And every time we talk to investors, everybody is like, are we at the top? Should we not invest fully? Should we put some money in cash, etc., right? What we do is we follow our model, right? We have a model that is sort of giving us the level of allocation that you should be having. We backtest it, we rigorously analyze it, and that's what we trust, right? So what we tell our investors is that any given day that you want to invest, you should start, and we are following the model. If the model says that it's time to move to cash, it's time to move to gold or bond, we will do that, right? For you, you don't need to worry about it. And I think, yeah, I think that's what we would say, right? That don't like missing out based on FOMO is a bad strategy, right? See, like I've talked to investors who have sort of missed investing during the 1990 car rally and during the 2000 to 2007 car rally, because they thought that okay, the prices have moved up a lot and they never invested, and then they realized
Right.
that okay, we missed out on this big opportunity, right? So I think that is what I would say, that don't sort of wait for the market. Invest into the market when you think it's the right time, and follow a strategy or a fund that has a strong risk management, so that even if you're hit with risk, they are managing your investment properly.
I think what you're saying is perfect because everything sort of boils down to investing in the right strategy with the right set of risk management, right? So it's all about that, and with tactical allocation across our schemes and our strategies, I believe investors' capital protection is on top of our minds, right?
Right. Perfect.
Uh, yes, perfect. Mm,
Yes. All right. So I think we've answered a lot of interesting questions. I think on LinkedIn we only have one question again, which we have answered comparing
right,
the small case with PMS, and I think we're pretty much done.
right.
And I think we shouldn't keep people waiting. I think people have to prepare for the World Cup, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
best of luck to Team India. And I hope you guys have a great day watching the World Cup and a great week ahead.
Absolutely. Yes, and thank you everybody, for taking out the time to join this stream on a Sunday morning. Uh, and we all are looking forward to the World Cup and a very interesting match. So fingers crossed.
Best of luck.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.